Good morning, Ninja Clan. This is Lupine Fiasco back with some more FaB gameplay through the Talishar.net client. Got a Dorinthea match for you today. This Dorinthea is on Dawnblade, so our sideboarding here is correct. We bring out E-Strikes, we bring in Sync Belows. I'm not sure how correct it is to board out 3 blocks as opposed to something like a double strike. How correct it is to not bring in Reinforced Line, but this sideboard configuration tends to work for me in this matchup. I do want to play Art of Wars, so I'm a lot more hesitant to bring in 6 D-Reacts. Putting Dorinthea on the play here, this allows us to leverage our entire hand on blocks, which is something we don't get to do at any other point in this game, unless we are really committed to resetting the Dawnblade. Our path to victory here against Dorinthea is to get a D-React in Arsenal, hopefully this Sync Below. But to try to manage the Dawnblade, try to keep it on 0 or 1 counters based on blocks. There are specific situations where we do want to race the Dorinthea. Generally, those situations are that we either have a very good Art of War hand or we just can't block. Otherwise, if we're racing Dorinthea, we tend to go faster unless we get hit by something like a double, Glistening Steelblade, Steelblade Supremacy, Singing Steelblade, 2 power cards in a turn, multiple turns in a row. Here, Dorinthea drawing just the absolute nuts. 2 Singing Steelblades in the opening hand to find a glint and a route. We do have our 3 block returned to us, so we are able to stop the Dawnblade from getting counters, but it does take a Sync Below out of our hand, and really only nets 2 Singing Steelblades from Dorinthea, which are powerful cards for her, but aren't Glistening, aren't Steelblade Supremacy. I would rank these as maybe her 3rd best card against us. So an absolute nuts turn from Dorinthea turn 1. Thankfully, we do have the Sync Below, and we are able to play around it. So we aren't punished as hard, but really good turn from her. Here we're looking at our usual Kodachi game plan. Turning Rise into a Phoenix Flame does net us 6 links on the chain. Pitching Brand for double Kodachi, double Strike being 2 attacks in itself, Lava Vein Loyalty, and Phoenix Flame gets us to that 6. So probably what we're looking to do here, as far as turn power, not great, but with Rise on the table, double Strike attacks for 6, Lava Vein is 9, Phoenix Flame is 10, and then Brand being 2 Kodachis is 12. So we are turning a 4-card hand into 12 damage, that's on rate, and getting equipment from Dorinthea is the game plan here. So sequencing here is looking like play Rise, Kodachi Kodachi, double Strike for 4, Phoenix Flame for 1 using the Shuko trigger is necessary. We will not have a Draconic Link on this chain prior to the Phoenix Flame. So Phoenix Flame for 1, double Strike for 1, Lava Vein for 3 will not have Go Again, but at least is a Mask trigger. There are much better ways to sequence this turn for pushing damage. There are ways to sequence this turn for pushing damage that lets us keep a Rise from the Ashes in Arsenal, but none of those sequences get us to our 6 chain links. And we really want to start tearing through Dorinthea's armor. The benefit of Kodachi Kodachi double Strike is Dorinthea taking the 2 Kodachis leaves her at 38. Arcanite Skullcap is not on because Dorinthea will have more life than we do, so to block 4, she'll either need to give us Courage and Brave Forge, or a card from hand and Bolters, or Skullcap, Blade Hole, Bolters, some combination of cards from hand or higher power equipment. Let's watch the sequencing here. It's possible that I went for a higher damage line with lower chain links. Curious to see what I came up with. I don't believe there is a combination of cards that gets us to 6 links if we aren't pitching brand for Kodachis. I believe the follow-up to this brand is going to be Lava Vein Loyalty for 3, just trying to get cards out of Dorinthea. She does block on the second chain link, so we are going to be able to threaten another Mask Trigger this turn. It does work out for us. I stand by Kodachi, Double Strike, Phoenix Flame, Lava Vein as the correct line, but as with any Kodachi plan, how your opponent blocks and where they choose to do so is a lot more important than your intended sequencing. As soon as they block weird, it all goes off the table. So with Dorinthea having blocked the Double Strike, we're just going to send a Phoenix Flame and arsenal a Lava Vein Loyalty. There's no reason to throw 3 damage just for the sake of it. Dorinthea already on 3 cards here, so I'm not overly concerned about what she can do this turn. Naked Dawnblade is not something I really ever want to block. If she wants to use bolters to get it go again, that's fine. The Dawnblade is okay to give counters to if it means that we get to do something cool on our turn. With the cards we have in hand, we will be able to send 6 chain links with a 7th if we need it. We can also arsenal one of our brands if Dorinthea blocks. With a Lava Vein Loyalty in arsenal, we have a couple of decisions. The first being, do we want to send yellow or red brand? Intending to save the other one. So if we send red brand here, then we can look to arsenal our yellow brand. I don't know if I like this idea. I think I would rather send the yellow brand with the intention of getting my Shiko trigger. Effectively, oh, okay, I see what we're doing. So we're intending to play the Warmonger's Diplomacy here, which, yes, in hindsight, I believe is correct. Following this Kodachi with a Lava Vein Loyalty is going to let us pick up our Phoenix Flame while still floating a resource for the second Kodachi. Still pushing 6 chain links, but also getting to finish the turn with Warmonger's Diplomacy is really, really big. I'm glad I at least saw it in this game, if not in the replay. Getting to play Diplomacy here is huge. Warrior is... Bolton can be weak to Diplomacy, especially if they are a combo list. Dorinthea is especially weak to Diplomacy because all of her best cards are non-attack actions. Glistening Steelblade, non-attack action. Steelblade Supremacy, non-attack action. Here, our Dorinthea has Brave Forge Bracers. If she was on Ironsong Versus, that is another non-attack action that they don't get to use if they are under the effect of war. So, pretty good. She does get to play reactions, so the correct Dorinthea hand can still push a lot of damage. Just through playing, attacking Dawnblade, pitching 1 for 3 reaction, 1 for 3 reaction. The correct Dorinthea hand can even have multiple instances of go again additional attack. So she could go very, very wide, even through war. Here, we're going to decide not to block. If she wants to use some reactions, we'll let her. Looking at our hand, it is absolute dookie. This is very statistically unlikely that we draw 3 snatches in the same hand. We would have loved to see a starter here, aside from blue brand. So we don't really even want to block with this hand because it just doesn't. We have a lot of 2-block. We have all 2 blocks, no D-reacts. Dorinthea with 2 floating resources and who knows how many reactions. We're just happy to say, okay, send us the bill. So how do we want to sequence this? We'll send a snatch. We have our snapdragons available. There are lines we can take where we attack with Brand, pitch a snatch for a Kodachi, pitch a snatch for a Phoenix Flame, attack with the Phoenix Flame, then finish with a snatch. It's a low damage turn. It does give us our snapdragons, or it does let us keep our snapdragons, but I am fine here sending a snatch, Kodachi, Kodachi, snatch. It pushes more damage, lets us threaten more card draw, gets cards out of Dorinthea's hand. She doesn't know whether we're on something like a Razor Reflex, so maybe she's more incentivized to block the second snatch than we know she should be. Just a really awkward turn for us to play through. This line does let us keep a snatch in our arsenal. A little dangerous when we don't have our snapdragons available. If we were to draw another finisher, Lava Vein, Assault the Wound, even a Breaking Point here, we do run into a potential problem where we can't attack with both. We do end up clogged with finishers. So here seeing that Breaking Point. The good thing about all of our non-snatch finishers is they block for 3. Even if we don't have the opportunity to reset the Dawnblade, we do at least have the opportunity to mitigate some damage. With a hand like this, we can send 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 links. The snatch is a double draw trigger. We could also choose not to block this Dawnblade, keep our Breaking Point, and intend to attack with this at the end of the chain, just to present some sort of disruption. We can tempo block with it. I'm not interested in giving up armor here. Dorinthea has a card in Arsenal, a card in hand, 2 resources floating. This card in Arsenal has been here for some time, so I'm fully expecting a reaction. We're just taking this damage. This Dawnblade doesn't have Go Again. For Dorinthea to give it Go Again, she would need Glint, she would need her 3rd copy of Singing Steelblade. But if we don't block this Dawnblade, the Singing Steelblade doesn't have the Reprise Tutor. So really not looking to block here. Yes, Breaking Point is tempo, but giving Dorinthea the opportunity to reprise is a big loss for us. So just not blocking, I'll send the Breaking Point at the end of a chain, just to present some sort of disruption and hold on to this snatch. Choosing instead to block, this is not a line I agree with. We immediately get punished for it in the form of Singing Steelblade, which then finds Glint, which draws a card. I just think I understand my thought process here, but I really strongly disagree with it. This whole Dorinthea turn doesn't happen if we don't make that block. So now Dawnblade has 3 counters on it. Yeah, we'll get to send 6 chain links, we have some decent damage here, but being able to send the Breaking Point as disruption, Dorinthea does not have the armor to block Breaking Point if she wants to keep Courage of Blade hold, or if she doesn't have a defense reaction. We're at the same, we actually have more health because we only took 5 instead of 6, and Dawnblade does not have a 3rd counter on it. This was just a big misplay from me. I don't like blocking if I'm giving Dorinthea the opportunity to either push damage over the top of the blocks or get the reprise. I like either blocking Dorinthea in such a way that I know for a fact the attack is going to not hit, barring some really weird act of just she drew the absolute nuts. Or don't block at all. At this point, we're just playing out our turn. Dorinthea seems very incentivized to not block. If that's what she wants to do, that's fine with us. We will finish with a snatch, either get a card from hand and the skull cap, or put a card into our arsenal. Dorinthea with a 5-card hand is certainly scary. We could be looking at a lot of power cards. We know she has no Singing Steel Blades left, but we have yet to see a Glistening or a Steel Blade Supremacy. So this could be a very big turn. We don't have as much armor to block a very big turn as we would have liked because we blocked with our Furnace last turn. Here we can imagine what this hand looks like if the Snatch was a breaking point, and we would actually threaten some sort of response. We'd actually prompt some sort of response from Dorinthea, but we've already talked about how we got punished for blocking last turn. We won't keep going into it. Instead, we do manage to push 18 damage onto this Dorinthea, who is committed to not blocking us. She plays Oasis Respite, pitching an Out for Blood. Weird card to see in Dorinthea, but not something I'm unhappy about. If she wants to give me two whole cards to make this play happen, knock yourself out. We draw what is not a good hand. This turn is bad. This turn is us. If we were committed to not blocking, this turn says we pitch Lava Vein Loyalty at the end of Dorinthea's turn to pick up a Phoenix Flame. Then we say Phoenix Flame for 0, Kadachi, Lava Burst for 6, pitch the Warmongers to make it happen. We get to Arsenal Lava Burst. We're pushing 8 damage. 8 damage off 3 cards is below rate, but not incredibly below rate. But for what FaB really wants to be doing, that sucks. So for this hand, cool, let's block. This Dawnblade has 3 counters on it. I'm very happy to reset the Dawnblade here. We know that Dorinthea does not have any Singing Steel Blades left in her deck, so the most that she can react with is 1 for 3. This being Out for Blood, this being Puncture. If this is Puncture, we have a question to ask as far as, is this 1 for 3 or 1 for 4? That does change our blocking decision because we have a consideration here. We have enough armor, and we have enough cards in hand. We could just put 4 cards in front of this Dawnblade, pass our turn. We set the Dawnblade, let Dory draw up, keep her 5-card hand, and just try again. We could block with 3 cards and armor, put 12 in front of... We could put a total of 14 block in front of this Dawnblade. That's excessive. We only need to block 12 if we want to play around Puncture, and we only need to block 11 if we don't. I like that line here. We are at life parity with Dorinthea. She still has Glistening, 3 copies of Glistening and 2 copies of Steel Blade Supremacy. And we don't know what this card is, so Dorinthea could have a big turn left. So I like blocking with Shuko and Furnace. We keep our mask. And 3 of these cards. We block 12. We block 11. No, that's 12. Math is hard. We block 12. We play around the Puncture. And we get to keep a card. So the question is, what card do we keep? Do we keep a Lava Burst to put in our arsenal and play for the 5-card Art of War? Or do we keep Warmonger's Diplomacy to play on our next turn and keep Dorinthea off of a big power turn while we're kind of finding our footing? And I like playing the Diplomacy. I like blocking with Lava Vein, 2 Lava Bursts, a Shuko, and a Furnace. Play around the Puncture, and play Diplomacy on our next turn. Now that may be wrong to block with the Furnace. I believe that playing the Diplomacy is correct, and giving Shuko is correct. This game will last long enough that we'll get Shuko value. We could easily get 3 points of value from Shuko before we need to block with it, but we really need to reset this Dawnblade. So the question is, are we blocking with Furnace or not? I don't know if Dorinthea plays Puncture at this point. I want to believe that she has enough new, exciting cards. She has Iron Song Chorus. Dorinthea's were already moving off of Puncture, that I want to say we don't need to play around it. That might be wrong. I'm not familiar enough with Dory lists. But here I'm willing to block 11 to try to keep armor. So we'll see what I do in this video. But if I'm making this call now, I'm blocking 11. I'm not playing around Puncture. You see me making the Furnace block, deciding to play around Puncture. I can respect the decision. Again, I don't know if that is correct or not, but if we block 11 and Dory's arsenal is Puncture, that's just a massive blowout for us. Not being able to reset the Dawnblade and not getting a turn of our own, we just lose the game, most likely. We draw the Art of War. We draw a very good 4-card Art of War hand. Seeing, of course, having the Lava Burst in Arsenal would be very good for us. For a 5-card Art of War hand. Dory just sending Dawnblade for 3 lets us know retroactively we made the right call in playing the Warmongers. I don't know what's in Dory's hand. I have to assume something that is a Glistening or a Steelblade Supremacy. We have a decision to make here of whether we want to play this Art of War or not. I am inclined to say yes. Dorinthea does not have a ton of armor left. We have our Mask of Momentum. We're behind on life. Dory has a 5-card hand. We need to make something happen. There's absolutely a line to say Kadachi, Rising Resentment. Salt the Wound, it's fine. Likely both Kadachis hit, Rising gets blocked, Salt comes in for 4, maybe gets more blocks. But that's threatening a total of 6. Dory can easily kill us from 14, or at least put us low enough that Dawnblade becomes inevitable. So playing the Art of War, pitching Lava Vein, banishing Salt here, and trying to make something happen sounds very good. I am more recently off of going for the tricky Art of War. In this case, that would be Kadachi, Resentment for 3, hold the Art of War. I am much more in favor of shaping my turns. Here, if we had taken the line of a tricky Art of War, we have no floating resources, and this Mounting Anger now rots in our hand. That not being the case, let's look at how we can shape this turn. Mounting Anger for 5 likely gets a block out of Dorinthea. It might be armor and a card, it might be 2 cards, it might be another Oasis Respite and armor. That would be incredible. But the point being, we can send 4 chain links here. That turn looks like Mounting Anger, Rising Resentment, activate 5 for Phoenix Flame, Salt the Wound. So opening with the Mounting Anger to bait some blocks, then getting to send 3 more chain links. Sounds very good. Activating Phoenix Flame rather than Kadachi is just more damage. If we were not under Art of War and without a Shuko, that line wouldn't matter. But with Art of War, a Kadachi is 1, Phoenix Flame is 2. This is basic math, but it's something that I often find myself forgetting. that activating fine matters here. Just saying it out loud, mostly for myself. Here we attack with the Kodachi. I don't like this plan. I suspect we are trying to bait the Dorinthea into making a mistake. That she is less inclined to block the Kodachi on link 1 than she is to block on link 2. The problem with this plan, I know, I take it back. This line actually makes a lot of sense, because if we attack with the Rising Resentment first, then Dorinthea is at a lower life total than us, and Skullcap is online. But with our line sending Kodachi first, the Skullcap can't block. So we put ourselves in a situation, like we saw, Dorinthea tries to block the Skullcap, realizes that it's off, has to block with Courage of Blade Hold, which is a good get for us. Here, Dawnblade comes in for 4. 2 resources floating, and still a card in Arsenal that has been parked here forever. We can assume that this is not a power card. This is not Glistening, it isn't Steelblade Supremacy, that would have been played already. It is not a Puncture. Well, it could be a Puncture. It isn't any, we don't know what this card is, long and short of it. We did see from blocks on Dorinthea's last turn. She does play Puncture. With a Salt the Wound in Arsenal and a Breaking Point in hand with another Art of War, I'm inclined to take this damage. Dorinthea cannot give the Dawnblade go again in such a way that its power goes up. If this is Glint, yes, she can attack with Dawnblade again, and now our Sink Below is on the table. But this Dawnblade, we really don't want to block it. We don't want to turn on Reprise. We are fine to take 4 points of damage here. If this is an Out for Blood or a Puncture and Dorinthea wants to fire it off, we're fine to take 7. But we really want to play our Art of War generally. We also want to get a second finisher out of our hand. We end up drawing the same finisher, but it's still fine. It is unplayable as far as getting Reprise on the table, so likely looking to pitch it. We can send Brand, Kodachi, activate FaB, send a Phoenix Flame, gets a card from Dorinthea, pitch the Breaking Point for another Kodachi, finish the turn with Salt the Wound, and we get to Arsenal a Sink Below. That does feel... it feels bad. We want to be getting our finisher value here, but without the Reprise, Breaking Point is not doing anything for us. And without our Snapdragons, we just can't play it. This line also gets Salt out of our arsenal, so we are able to put the Sink in and draw up to 4 cards. Also just making our Salt the Wound bigger. Here, Salt threatens 6. That's real damage. It puts Dorinthea down to 3 in lethal range of any of our head jabs. We're excited to get cards out of her hand. We still don't know what this mystery card in Arsenal is, but with a Sink Below and a potential 3 block in hand, we feel very good about blocking anything she could have. Glint being really the only thing that punishes us for blocking 7. I will need to pause for just a minute. Sorry about that. See Dorinthea, take 3, go to 6, send a Nourishing Emptiness back at us. 6 doesn't kill us, of course, but definitely don't want Dorinthea to have a 6-card hand, so we have a couple of options here. We can give up the Mask. At this point, Dorinthea is at 6. We're not likely to trigger Mask again. The on hit, when the opposing hero gets so low, is death. They're not going to let us hit 3 times in a row because that would probably kill them. So, blocking with the Mask here is not a bad idea. Alternatively, we have a Mounting Anger that we currently can't efficiently play. We do want to play this Rise from the Ashes, pick up our Phoenix Flame. The problem with Mounting Anger, of course, is that we have nothing to pitch. We don't want to pitch our Phoenix Flame. Yeah, we could pitch a Rising Resentment, sequence our turn like Mounting Anger, comes for 7, probably gets 2 cards and the Skull Cap from Dorinthea. Follow that up with Phoenix Flame Rising Resentment to take her to 2. But it's not a great line overall. So I feel okay about blocking with the Mounting Anger and Sink Below. Keep our Mask for a dominated attack. We did see an Iron Song Determination in Dorinthea's deck. And she blocked with it, so reasonable to assume that she has another one in there. Mask helps for that. We have a line of blocking with Mask and the Sink and sinking this Mounting Anger. But I don't feel great about that line here. Making this call now, I'm happy to just block with Mounting Anger and Sink Below. I won't sink any of this, as it is, these 3 cards are 10 damage. So I feel okay about that. We can block with Mask and Sink, pitch our Rise from the Ashes to play Mounting Anger, and this is now threatening 11 damage. But I don't like giving up the Mask here. I do want to save that for future blocks when we have a card in our hand that's just kind of awkward. Past me is taking the line of blocking with the Mask and the Sink, and sinking the Mounting Anger to draw another Mounting Anger. Perfect. So with this in mind, playing the Rise, picking up the Phoenix Flame, coming in for 10 damage, and arsenaling a Mounting Anger sounds good. The benefit of this line is that in a world where Dorinthea lets the second Rising Resentment hit, the Mounting Anger is now free, and our turn explodes. We get to send 6, 9, 13, 14 damage with a potential extra point. 15 damage turn is really, really strong for us. It is unlikely to happen. Letting the second Rising hit is just, that's a big gamble from Dorinthea. I don't know if she's willing to take it. I would love it if she is. But more likely we will just get a card from her hand. Go to Steelblade Supremacy, great card to get. That is number 2. We've seen a Glistening in Dorinthea's pitch. So she's running out of power cards. Looking very unlikely that she can kill us at 10. Especially if she's pitching a Sink Below. Here I'm pretty inclined to just not block. This Dawnblade takes us to 7. I really don't want to turn on Reprise. This hand is not good. This hand is worth 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 9, 10, maybe 15 points of damage. It's a good hand, but things need to hit, and Dorinthea is pretty incentivized not to let that happen. But going back to my earlier point of not blocking for tempo to not turn on Reprise, this is a great situation to look at that. Dorinthea has no resources floating. She can't possibly threaten more than 3 if we don't block. If we do block, now she can start to threaten damage and Reprise effects. As far as sequencing here, it doesn't really matter. We're going to have, between our 2 brands and our Mounting Anger, we're going to be able to activate our hero power to pick up our Phoenix Flame. So the sequencing is important in that we want Dorinthea to not block things. So we want to stagger our Mounting Anger. We want to leave it back. Let Dorinthea think she should start blocking these Kodachis. We should see her put a whole card in front of the Kodachi for 1. And we're just going to keep ones coming. This is a very awkward hand for Dorinthea to block because she's incentivized to take this damage. It's just 1. But she's at 3. This Phoenix Flame represents a third of her remaining life total. So this Mounting Anchor coming in for 4 and having Dorinthea just block with Skullcat. This Mounting is going to take 2 cards to stop in its entirety. She would have loved to be at 1 and block the Skullcat. Block with the Skullcap instead. She blocks 6. Is at 2. Salt represents 5. If this card in Arsenal or this card in hand is not a defense reaction, then she loses the game. We see that is the case. I would love to know what this card in Arsenal is, but ultimately doesn't matter. We get the win. We had 2 very good Art of Wars. The first was very good. The second was fine. The 2 Art of Wars back-to-back makes for a pretty good game for us. 2 Warmongers Diplomacies came up very big in the game. But overall, I like this matchup a lot. I think we did fine. The block of 5, where Dorinthea still had a Steelblade Supremacy, or a Singing Steelblade in the deck, still had a Glint, was just bad. Not being able to threaten a breaking point there was just bad. So overall, I think this game went fine. I would like to take that turn back and do block differently or not block at all. But the big thing when you're playing Dorinthea is just recognizing when do I need to block, when can I block, when is blocking even an option, and when do I just take the damage and try to throw something back on my turn and make something happen. Like, comment, subscribe. Hopefully you're all enjoying this content. Let me know down below if you are, if you aren't, if there are other heroes you want to see me play against. I play random, no undo, classic constructed in Talishar, so these matches are really just whatever got thrown at me that day. But I am always happy to search for specific matchups, maybe go into the classic constructed queue if you are looking for specific pointers, but otherwise I will see you all back here tomorrow for some more FaB gameplay. Take care.